So I just finished Pride and Prejudice. I'm in this kind of little secret corner, and I want to talk about this like as soon as possible for fear of like losing my thoughts about it. But this was genuinely like the perfect spring into summer read, and it's also my first time ever reading it, which is kind of shocking because the movie is obviously one of my favorite movies ever. And while I was reading it, I was kind of thinking about why this story means so much to me. Like, why is the movie my favorite, aside from it, being a romance movie and something, the cinematography and the orchestration, aside from the technical elements, like what makes this story one that I really enjoy. And I think I really found that kind of by the end of the book, because at first, I know that this is supposed to be a satire. I know that all the characters are, flawed in some way, and even the very comical characters like Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, even though they are like caricatures, they're still sort of grounded in this reality for a lot of women at this time. And I've always kind of joked that like Elizabeth Bennet is so me, she's so me, but like this book, guys, she's actually me. Like, I'm her. I just relate so much to her, sort of feeling that the only sort of weapon she has against this world that, tells her who she needs to be, who she needs to marry, what she should be looking for in life, and like the way that she should fulfill herself, or the way that she should feel fulfilled. Her only weapon against that is kind of having these very strict, obstinate, headstrong sort of opinions on things, and feeling very sort of set in your ways, and sort of having to learn that, even though you can be that way, it sort of leads to these really bad miscommunications. Like, a lot of this wouldn't have happened if Elizabeth had just, been open, talked to her family about it. But even then, like, I get her for not talking to people about it, because having to explain the fluidity of, a person's emotions is very hard. Like, even by the end of the novel, she's like, well, I'm afraid to explain to my whole family why suddenly I'm going to be marrying this man that they thought that I hated, and that I told them that they should also hate. And throughout the novel, she's like trying to seek validation of her family, but being very sort of angry at the way that her family acts in her stead. They are very silly. I mean, they're incredibly silly. They're very vulgar, kind of really goofy. They don't know the mannerisms. Well, they know the mannerisms, but they just don't ascribe to those kind of mannerisms. And, when Mr. Darcy is like, your family sucks, you and your older sister don't suck, but like, your whole family kind of sucks, so you'd be happy, actually, that I'm proposing to you. And, she feels obviously very upset by that, but she can't even deny that, like, there's not truth in that, because her family is very silly. I also really like the way, because of course I was comparing this to the movie a lot more, I actually loved the way this sort of tied together at the end with Elizabeth asking Mr. Darcy, like, how did you fall in love with me? Like, same girl. But him sort of talking about how, he was raised in a family that is very proud, and is very proud of their old roots and their ancient roots. That was so crazy. I feel like that's not explored at all in the movie, obviously, because it's a movie. You only have 2 hours. But him sort of talking about how he was like raised in a very proud family, and how Elizabeth really challenged him in that way, I thought was very endearing. Like, the idea that being sort of a challenging individual can promote love, even though Elizabeth, you know, like her mother tells her that she's never, after she denies Mr. Collins, like she's never gonna find love if she's so headstrong. And in the end, that's like what made her attractive to one Mr. Darcy. And the amount of like lines in this, you know, you have bewitched me body and soul, I love you, is like peak. But we're not talking enough about, wait, no one is talking enough about this one. Okay, let me find it. No one is talking enough about this one. She asked, "How could you begin?" said she. "I comprehend you're going on charmingly when you had once made a beginning, but what could set you off in the first place?" And Mr. Darcy replies, "I cannot fix on the hour, or the spot, or the look, or the words which laid the foundation. It is too long ago. I was in the middle before I knew I had begun." And then he also says, this one also got me very, very much. She says, "Why, especially when you called, did you look as if you did not care about me?" He says, "Because you were grave and silent and gave me no encouragement." She says, "But I was embarrassed." "And so was I." "You might have talked to me more when you came to dinner," said she. A man who had felt less might. I also just want to say that, like, reading this and like swooning and like kicking my feet and giggling, it makes me feel so connected to the women that I know were kicking their feet and giggling when this came out, and years since. But, you know, a man less in love might, in that, you know, Mr. Knightley, if I loved you less, I might be able to talk about it more. Gold. I think I'm gonna finish Emma after, like, once I get home, because I left my copy of Emma back home, but I started it and I didn't quite get through because I was not really in a classic mood. But now I'm like deep in a classic mood, actually. Like, I want to go home and read every other Bronte on my shelf, every Jane Austen on my shelf. I want to read classics now. I don't know if it's still like going to be one of my favorite classics ever. I feel like it's very hard to take that spot from Frankenstein and Wuthering Heights and even Jane Eyre, just because I find that in my literature I like a lot more drama than I guess this. I mean, this had like tea, you know, but like drama. But obviously this was still incredibly good. I'm so excited to have a Jane Austen year. Like, now I really do want to read everything. And, you know, I know I have Northanger Abbey at home and I have Persuasion, so I think those might be fall and winter reads. But this was just so, like, wow. Yeah, I don't really know what I want to read next. I still have a couple days before I go home to South Florida, because I'm staying for the Ethel Cain concert in Tallahassee. I'm literally like so excited. You generally don't even understand. But I want to read something else. Like, I don't want to spend my days kind of doing nothing. So I have a couple, or you might have seen that I went to Fat Cat Books to pick up this book, which I knew they had, and I went back to get it because I saw Melissa, who's like another booktube like influencer. She recently finished this trilogy by Sigrid Undset. It's the Kristen Lavransdatter series. This is the first book. This is The Wreath, and this is about I guess it like follows from birth to death a woman in 14th century Norway. I never really thought that I would be very interested in kind of like the Bildungsroman to the very end, you know, like coming of age, like I know I like already, but from birth to death, I never thought that that would be my thing. But this does really intrigue me, especially, you know, this part. Her Sigrid Undset's prose combines the sounds and styles of Nordic ballads, European courtly poetry, and religious literature. So that is kind of exciting, and sort of, I guess this also follows another headstrong and passionate young woman. So, you know, I'm big into passionate, headstrong women. So yeah, I have this one. Or, you know, I could also start For My Lady's Heart. My roommate gave this to me for my birthday. Well, I asked for it because I saw a lot of this book on TikTok, and supposedly, obviously this is, you know, one of those cheap romance paperbacks. But I heard that the writing in this is like lyrical, poetic, beautiful. So I'm very interested to start this, and it also sounds like fantastic. The beautiful and mysterious princess came to the young knight's rescue and bestowed upon him 2 precious emeralds. From that day, she was his sworn lady. Though Melanthe had saved the handsome Englishman, she could not save herself. She was a pawn in a court of intrigue and secrets. But the man she had saved would return for her as a legendary Green Knight. He would take up his sword for her honor and risk his life for the love that burned between them. Like, this just sounds fun. Guys, this just sounds fun. I can't even lie. Maybe I will start this. Oh no, one of the pages is bent. I don't know what I'm in the mood for. I might just start both, honestly, and see which sort of piques my fancy first. But yeah. So. Okay, I'm home now. I ended up deciding to just make lunch. So I'm eating, oh, I don't want that to spill out. I'm eating rice and yellow tadka dal, like the Trader Joe's packets. I just bought a bunch of their like Indian fare packets because I really didn't feel like making all that much food before leaving. But now it looks like I might actually still have food left over. So I'm praying that that doesn't happen. But yeah, I'm still writing that Pride and Prejudice high. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, I read it. Like, I finally read it after, like, loving the movie forever and, like, talking about it all the time. Like, I finally read it. So exciting. I'm like, wow. Pride and Prejudice. W. But yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day. I might read a little bit more. Oh, I started The Wreath. I only read a chapter, but I'm already pretty like excited about it because I was just kind of expecting like a regular historical fiction, but the end of the first chapter had like a little mystical, magical event, I guess. This little girl, kind of Kristen, because we're following her as a child right now. She runs into this like woman in the woods with a crown, with a wreath even, and she kind of like beckons her to come, and Kristen realizes that it's probably like a spirit of the woods, which is very exciting. Ooh, I wasn't expecting like a little fantasy element, but I'm very excited anyway. I also am glad that this is more, I was worried that because it's set in Norway, it would be kind of like winter vibes. And even though like it's kind of cold outside because, you know, it's been raining the past couple days, I don't want to read anything having to do with winter right now. Like, I want summer, I want spring vibes, warmth. That's why I waited to finish Pride and Prejudice today instead of reading it yesterday, when arguably it was perfect reading weather yesterday because it was just storming all day. But I waited until today because I wanted to read it like out in nature, in the warmth of the sun, as Jane Austen intended. But this is already like warm. It's kind of summer, or at least when the book starts, they're going to a like farm in the mountains, I might need like a family tree, because it started off by just like saying how everyone is related, and I was like, whoa, Sigrid, you have to stop. Okay, I don't know this. You have to stop. So I might like find a family tree and put it in the front cover or something, just to make sure I know how everyone is related. But yeah, so it's already very summery, very warm, and I'm glad about that, because if it was wintry, I might have like put it on hold until it gets colder, which in Florida isn't until November and December, at least up in Tallahassee. Like, it gets pretty cold earlier than in South Florida, but regardless. So I'm gonna eat, watch a little bit of YouTube, and then I don't know, I might start packing to go home, because I really haven't started at all. I don't know if you can see the mess in my corner over here, but I've like pulled out my boxes and bags and stuff. Aside from that, nothing has been packed. So I might start that as well today, but who really knows? I kind of just feel like being cozy today and reading, but we'll see. Okay. Okay, so I switched into PJs. My shoulders got sunburnt, so I got a little bit of pain on my shoulders, but it's fine. It'll turn into a tan. So I've just been packing. I didn't even realize that it's already like 9 o'clock. So I feel like every time I pack, I just get into the zone, which is why I really wasn't filming that much, because I'm like, if I'm worried about talking and filming while trying to pack and organize, it's not happening. But I feel like I got kind of a lot done. I'm not even really leaving until Friday and Sunday right now, but I just want to make sure I have everything kind of organized and things that I don't really need put away before I get busy with preparing for Ethel Kane. But yeah, I really did make quite a mess. So I think I'm gonna like finish up this bag of clothes that I'm doing, and then just clean and then rest for the rest of the night, because I'm tired and I really want to get to the wreath. I've been kind of thinking about it, and I just kind of want to lay in bed and read it for a little bit. So yeah.